You ever have one of those days when you wake up thinking, nothing could possibly go wrong, and by sunset you're holding a check for 5 grand, a citation from the HOA, and a neighbor's apology letter, while the woman who caused it all is on her way to prison? Yeah, me neither, at least not until last winter. I still remember it like a bad joke. I was parked on my couch, half watching the news, when my phone buzzed. Jake, they just towed your plow truck. At first I thought, nah, this has to be a prank. But nope, step outside and there's nothing but tire tracks where my F-350 with the snowplow used to sit. And mind you, they're predicting 30 inches of snow that night. Lancaster, Pennsylvania doesn't mess around when it comes to weather. 3 years I'd lived in Pine Haven Estates, a name that sounds like a golf course but feels like a sitcom, when this happened. When my wife Sarah and I moved in, the HOA seemed harmless. Don't paint your door neon green, keep the grass tidy, yada yada. Then Patricia Henderson became president, and suddenly we're living in her personal kingdom. Picture a lady in her 50s. I'd like to speak to the manager, haircut, purple velour tracksuit, marching up and down the street with her clipboard like she's running a military academy for lawns. I called the HOA emergency number, which of course rings straight to Patricia. She answers with that nasal voice that could wake the dead. Jake, I had that eyesore removed. Section 7, paragraph 12, no commercial vehicles in plain sight. I'm staring at the empty spot where my plow truck should be, fighting the urge to use words my mother would slap me for. Patricia, are you out of your mind? There's a blizzard coming. Nobody's getting out of this neighborhood without that truck. She just huffs, tells me it's at Morton's Towing, and hangs up. Morton's Towing closes at 5. It's 3:15. The snow's already starting, and I have 45 minutes to cough up $450 in cash and get my truck before we all end up iced in. So I throw on my coat, fire up the Honda Civic, and book it across town, with the sky turning that ugly greenish-gray shade that means you're about to see some real action. I make it by the skin of my teeth. The old guy at Morton's, smelling like gasoline and coffee, hands me my keys and tells me I'm lucky. This storm's gonna be a monster, son. I barrel back home in the truck, barely able to see through the thickening wall of snow. By the time I pull in, there's already a few inches on the ground, and it's coming down sideways. Sarah hugs me like I've come back from war. We spend the night listening to the wind howl and watching the snow pile up over a foot by midnight. The county snowplows. Forget it. Main roads only. Side streets like ours might as well be on the moon. Next morning, everything's silent. Too silent. I look outside and see drifts up to the windows. Cars, mailboxes, front steps gone. People are blowing up the community chat, stuck out of food, missed doctor's appointments, a kid with possible appendicitis, and, oh yeah, Jake, any chance you can plow us out? Sure. Except Patricia had my truck towed before the first flake hit the ground. 9 a.m. doorbell rings. It's Patricia herself, trudging up my walkway in her velour tracksuit and Ugg boots, looking like she spent the night wrestling a snowblower. She barely says hello, just barges in and announces the HOA wants to hire me, yes, me, to plow out the neighborhood for $500. I had to laugh. I mean, she caused this mess and now she wants me to fix it for the cost of a fancy dinner. Patricia, let me get this straight. You cost me $450 to get my own truck back, nearly stranded the whole neighborhood, and now you want me to spend all day digging everyone out for what, $50 an hour? She's unmoved. It's an emergency, Jake. Civic duty. I tell her plain as day my rate is 5 grand. She nearly faints. She storms out, literally wading through waist-deep snow, muttering about highway robbery. By midday, the chat's lit up with panic. Ambulance can't get in. Insulin's running low at one house. Older folks are running out of meds. Then twist of the day. 3 other HOA board members show up, Robert the treasurer, Linda the secretary, and Tom the level-headed engineer, each of them looking like they've aged 5 years overnight. Turns out they know Patricia screwed up. Linda called every snow removal company in a 50-mile radius. Nobody could come for days, and the one guy willing to try wanted $7,500. Suddenly, my 5,000's looking like a deal. Robert scrapes together 3 grand from the emergency fund, promises the rest after a vote, and I get it in writing, plus if they stiff me, I get to put a lien on the HOA's common property. So I suit up, fire up the truck, and start plowing. It's brutal, 15 hours straight, engine screaming, plow groaning, headlights tunneling through the dark. Neighbors wave, bring me sandwiches, but I don't stop. By midnight, every street's clear. Kids get to the hospital and the insulin arrives. I collapse in bed, feeling like I just fought a war and maybe, just maybe, won. Next morning, thank you notes pour in, except of course from Patricia. Instead, she sends me an email accusing me of price gouging and gives me 30 days to get my commercial vehicle out of the neighborhood or else. Here's where I get sneaky. I actually read the bylaws. Yep, I was that bored. Turns out my truck isn't technically commercial by their own rules. Underweight regular plates, and yes, I use it for side work, but it's still my personal vehicle. So I call up Marcus, my old college buddy turned real estate lawyer, and he just laughs. Jake, she's got nothing. I'll draft a letter. And if they don't pay you, we slap a lien on their property. Oh, and harassment. You might have a case. 2 weeks roll by. The HOA misses the payment deadline. Patricia's been running a whisper campaign convincing homeowners not to approve the special assessment. So Marcus files the lien. Suddenly, the HOA clubhouse and playground are encumbered, and the whole neighborhood knows about it. Patricia goes ballistic, shows up at my door, yells, threatens, even throws eggs at my siding in the middle of the night. Joke's on her, I've got her on camera. I call the cops and she gets cited for vandalism. Then she fines me $500 for community disruption. Marcus can barely contain his glee. Jake, we're suing. For the $2,000 for harassment and for my fees. The lawsuits filed. The annual HOA meeting turns into a showdown. Patricia tries to play the victim. Robert stands up and lays it all out, the towing, the contract, the harassment, the vandalism. One neighbor, Dennis, chimes in. Jake saved my wife's life. She needed insulin. The room erupts. Patricia's out 51 votes to 7. Robert's the new president. The community votes to pay me in full, drop all fines, and get this, rename the playground after me. But it doesn't end there. Patricia, out for blood, tries to transfer HOA funds to herself after being removed. The bank flags it, the DA gets involved, and now we're talking criminal charges, fraud, attempted theft, you name it. Turns out she's been paying herself and her relatives for consulting services that never happened. The local news eats it up. My quiet suburb becomes famous overnight. HOA president arrested for fraud. With the criminal case hanging over her, the civil suit settles fast. I get my $5,000, Marcus gets his fees, and Patricia's lawyer tries to explain away $12,000 in bogus payments. 8 months later, Patricia pleads guilty, gets 2 years, serves 1, and is ordered to pay restitution. When Robert calls to tell me, I can hear the relief in his voice. The new board rewrites the bylaws, opens the community pool, and people start acting like neighbors again. A couple of weeks after Patricia's sentencing, the board holds a dedication for the new Jake Kowalski Community Playground. Sarah squeezes my hand as I read the little plaque. I just did what anyone would do, I tell her. She smiles. That's why you earned it. Next winter, when the snow comes, I'm out there plowing again. This time everyone waves and brings coffee. Feels good. Funny thing is, if Patricia had just left my truck alone, none of this would have happened. She'd still be running the HOA, probably still bleeding the coffers dry, and the community would still be walking on eggshells. But she couldn't help herself, needed to flex her power, and it did her in. Sometimes you push so hard to control things, you end up destroying the very thing you wanted to rule. A year after the dust settled, Dennis drops by with a couple beers. You think Patricia's changed, he asks. I shrug. Part of her parole is she can't come back here, can't run another HOA for 5 years. I hope she learned something for her own sake. We sit there, 2 neighbors, just enjoying a quiet evening. Feels like what I always wanted. No drama, no threats, just peace. You know, the real lesson here, I used to think justice was some big complicated thing, judges, lawyers, the whole deal. But sometimes justice is just a neighborhood standing up, saying enough, and refusing to let a bully win. Rules matter, but only when they serve the people, not the other way around. The craziest part. Years later, when folks tell the story, it always starts with the towed truck. That little act of spite ended up saving the whole neighborhood. Patricia's vendetta gave us a chance to stand up to change things. She tried to bury me in red tape, but ended up burying herself. A couple years after it all, I get a letter. Patricia, shaky handwriting, apologizing. I read it, and I let it go. No reply, no grudge. Life moves on. My business grows, the playground is busy every weekend, and neighbors actually say hi when we pass each other on the street. Every now and then when the snow starts falling and I fire up that old plow truck, I remember not the fights or the lawsuits, but that feeling of community. That's what matters. And if there's one thing I'd want anyone listening to take away, it's that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones worth fighting. Not for money, not for ego, but for the place you call home. Now let me ask you, where do you draw the line between enforcing the rules and abusing power? Ever stood up to someone who thought they were untouchable? What happened next? I'd love to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you think about right and wrong, justice and payback, because honestly, sometimes the only way to fix things is to just dig in and plow through.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.